Hi everyone, welcome to this course on vulnerability management. In this video I'll be demonstrating how you can use Qualys to achieve the 6 processes involved in vulnerability management. In my previous video I spoke about those 6 processes and I'm going to reiterate them again. Peradventure you haven't watched those videos, but feel free to go back into my playlist on this course and then you can view all of the objectives that I've covered as regards vulnerability management. Okay, so what are the 6 processes that I intend to use Qualys to achieve, to implement? Firstly, number 1 is to identify assets. Sorry about that. Number 1, identify assets. Number 2 is to prioritize the assets. Number 3 is to assess, which has to do with vulnerability scans. Number 4 is to report. Number 5 is remediation stroke patching. And number 6 is to validate. So what I'm going to use Qualys for is I'm going to use Qualys to demonstrate how you can achieve each of these 6 processes as regards when it comes to vulnerability management. And I would also like to mention that vulnerability management doesn't just have to do with technology. It evolves around the 3 bedrock when it comes to achieving vulnerability management. I've spoken about it. It's people, processes, and then technology. So in this video I'll be focusing more on technology, which is using Qualys to achieve those 6 processes. So what we're going to be doing is that, so I'm using Qualys. Qualys has 2 ways in which you can achieve vulnerability management. So firstly is cloud-based, and secondly is on-premise. So with cloud-based, they use a subscription. You have to subscribe to a module called VMDR. So VMDR means Vulnerability Management Detection and Response. It's a subscription that actually used mainly to achieve vulnerability management. And this module allows you to use to perform those 6 processes. And then it has other embedded solutions that you can actually comes with this particular subscription. So what I've done is I've subscribed to a 30 days trial version. So Qualys allows you to subscribe for 30 days with full license. It provides you with full access to each of those vulnerability management subscriptions and make use of it to try as many use cases, have a good feel of the tool, and then you can proceed with purchasing the actual license based on the IP addresses or the asset that you have in your environment. The second one is using appliances which will be deployed in your network. So these appliances could be physical appliance or it could actually be a virtual appliance. So another thing I did was that I installed a virtual appliance which actually connects to the cloud-based, so it can feed vulnerability data from the virtual scanner into the cloud environment. So the cloud environment provides me with a central location for visibility of all of my assets, of all of my scan data and the asset I have in my environment. So I'm using a Windows machine which I install an agent, a cloud agent on. I'm going to demonstrate how I achieve that as well. So that's Windows agent. So we only have one asset in our environment. So I just wanted to provide an overview as to, so once I get into the demo itself proper, you have an understanding of exactly what I'm doing. Alright, so without further ado, let's dive. Alright, so now I'm in my labs. I'm actually running my Qualys on a virtual machine. So I also have my virtual scanner here, but I'm going to go into details as to step by step to have a proper understanding of how I was able to achieve the whole process. Okay, so this is the cloud-based environment for Qualys. This is my account already. I've actually registered, so you see that I'm running the trial version, which is going to expire in 26 days. Okay, so but let me take you through how you can actually subscribe for a trial version, and then we can take it up from there. So first thing you do is you go to Google, you type Qualys vulnerability management. It brings you to this page, and then you have, so you can read up on this VMDR subscription and how you can use it to achieve vulnerability management. So there's a couple of information here you can just go through to read about, but my emphasis is on how we can demo it. So once you click on you click on this try it, and you come to the cloud platform free trial. Okay, so once you click on that, you have to fill in all of this information, your work email, your first name, your last name, and your company name. Once you provide those details, then it will send an email. You will get a response with the email you provided, with the work email you provided, and they'll provide you with details of your login credentials to be able to access the platform. And once you access the platform, you definitely come to have a page that actually looks like this. So we said that Qualys, I'm going to use Qualys to achieve the 6 processes involved in vulnerability management. So this is how the dashboard actually looks like. These are the subscriptions that comes embedded with VMDR. So this is the VMDR subscription itself. This is for continuous monitoring. This is for certificate view. You want to scan for vulnerabilities that has to do with certificates, or you want to set up monitoring and alerting, or for new security risk, as regards your assets in your environment. This is also for container security. This is where you want to do you want to scan your Kubernetes environment, your container environment. You can also use this particular subscription to achieve that. So there's also VMDR for mobile. This is for you to scan your mobile devices within your enterprise. This is also threat protection. This is for you to run threat intelligence on your existing assets. Also cloud view, monitor changes on cloud platforms. And also you can have for asset management, you have, one second, make it full screen. Okay, so for asset management, you have cybersecurity asset management. This is where you have a full view of all the assets in your environment, and also global asset view. This also encompasses all of that. But this is actually, as it's a legacy, means it's actually old, but it's still actually usable. So one thing that Qualys also does is you can perform patch management directly from Qualys, meaning that you don't need to have a third-party patching solution like your SCCM or WSUS server on Windows to complete your patching. So this can also be an additional value as you run your vulnerability management environment. You can also use it for application security, for web application scanning, for web malware detection. Then also for sensor management, cloud agent, network passive sensor, Qualys gateway services, connector. So I just want to run through all of that. So these are all of the subscriptions that come embedded when you subscribe for VMDR. However, once the trial expires, you have to purchase the actual license for you to be able to perform all of these functionalities. But the ones that don't have a trial in front of them, they're actually free. So you can run those services using the VMDR subscription. Even when it expires, you can still use this particular module within the entire platform. So the first thing is when you have access to your VMDR, one of the first things you want to do is you want to identify all the assets in your environment. And for that, you can use, so Qualys allows you to use Cloud Agent as one option, or you can use Maps. So what Maps does is Maps allows you to run more like you have your asset discovery kind of a scan in your environment. So this is what we have Maps here. So Maps allows you to run as many as possible asset discovery in your environment to discover all of the assets that you have. And once, depending on the architecture you have, Qualys usually recommend that you use Cloud Agents, because Cloud Agents provides much more visibility into all of your assets, because all the assets you have, once you install the agent on them, then you'll be able to, especially your client base, your Windows and your servers. It allows you to be able to connect directly, and then you can run your scans, access vulnerability data. Those vulnerability data will be feeding to the cloud platform based on the agent. You can also use maps. So for maps, map is more like you're running your basic asset discovery kind of a scan. So if you click on maps here, this is where you can have your title. You can call it host discovery. And then you can choose a option profile. So this option profile are different profiles you can actually use to run your scans. So this initial profile is actually okay, or you can also view other profiles already embedded in the system, or you can actually create your own profile depending on your environment or your configuration policies when it comes to running asset discovery. So this is a typical example. So scanning types, you can actually edit this scan profile, and then you can begin to manipulate it based on whatever thing you want to do. So this is the title, initial option. Then you can change the scan. Maybe you want to do light scan, or you don't even want to do any TCP scan. Okay, so but these are just basic configurations you have when you want to run a map. However, I would say that Qualys has full details as regards how you can actually perform a lot of these different functions. They have a very, very rich knowledge base where you can learn as much as possible as regards this. But I just want to focus on these processes so that I don't turn this into a Qualys training. Alright, so this is the map. So if you're actually scanning for all hosts in your environment, so these are some of the basic configuration, and the basic is actually fine though to perform the functionalities or your objective. So if you want to do asset group, so another thing about Qualys is that Qualys has an external scanner which is internet based. So this external scanner can only scan devices that has agent installed on them, because this scanner is actually connected to the internet. It's actually on the internet, so it's scanning from the Qualys cloud into all of the assets. So, but if you have your own virtual scanner, this is my own virtual scanner, and I'm going to take you through how you can actually deploy that as well. But I'll be using my virtual scanner to run that test, and then you can just add the IP addresses that you want to scan. I can't remember the IP address, but here you just need to put in the IP addresses, and then you launch, and then to provide you with those details. But for me, what I did was that I installed agents. I installed agents in my environment, and that allowed me to be able to capture the agent I have, or the host machine that I have in my environment. So while we wait for that, so there are two ways you can actually download the cloud agent. So the first one is to click on this question mark here and go to welcome. Once you click on welcome, it takes you directly to where you can actually identify the asset itself. So if you click on download cloud agent, so it gives you all of the agent feeds that it has. So depending on the agent, or depending on the operating system you want to install the agent on, all you just need to do is to click on that particular agent. So for me, I'm using Windows machine, which is a particular machine I'm actually on right now. So for standard, all you just need to do is to click on download. Once you click on download, you'll be able to download the agent itself, and this is the location of where I have my agent. It's actually on my downloads. I've already downloaded it already. So this is how the agent actually looks like. So once you download the agent, you also need to remember the directory where you downloaded that agent, and then you copy this installation command. So with Qualys, you can actually directly install these agents. Like normally you right click and you do install one as an administrator, this won't actually work. You have to follow the installation command. You have to use this installation command for it to work. Another thing is that once you're running that, you need to ensure that you are using the local administrator privileges on the host. So that host or the user account you're logged in with on your host machine must have local administrative privileges. So what you need to do is just to copy this installation command, and then you go to your command prompt. Once you go to your command prompt, you right click and you run as an administrator. So once it was an administrator, we also need to, like I said, remember the part where we downloaded the cloud agent. So for me, it's in my download. So I just need to navigate to my downloads. Okay, and then I do dir. Then I see this is where my cloud agent is. So this is my cloud agent. So all I just need to do is to paste. Oh, sorry, I didn't copy it properly. Is to copy this, okay, and then go to my command prompt, and then I paste it. You see, you just right click and you paste it. So once you click on enter, then automatically that cloud agent will be installed and then to connected to the VMDR in the cloud. So I've already done this already, so there's no need for me running that. But I just wanted to show you how that actually works. So once we've done that, you can navigate to your VMDR subscription and you come to another option I said is to use Cloud Agent to install. Is first option is to click on this question mark, you click on welcome, and then you click on Cloud Agent. The second option is to click on this down link and you click on Cloud Agent. Okay. So I've already installed, this is the Cloud Agent where I've already installed here. So if you want to do that, you can also click on activation keys. This is the default activation key for the Cloud Agent. So once you go to dashboard, this shows that I have one agent, and then if you click on it, you can use this particular key to install an agent. Okay, so once you have this, you can click install agents, and then it will take you to a page where you can download any agent you want. So that agent will be referring to this default activation key that we have here. So once you click on this installation instructions, it's the same process. So you just need to download, click here to download, and then you can download the exe here. Then you can copy this installation command, and then you can use that to complete that installation command. So another thing I also want to mention on this is that when you're installing an agent, you need to have agent modules. So each of these assets needs to have an installation. They need to have a particular different modules. So each of those modules will provide you with particular additional functionality that you can perform on those assets. So this is a detailed description of my assets. So it provides you with your system information. It provides you with the size of the memory, the free space, the disk space. So you can actually use this as your asset inventory. You can actually download it, and then you can use that to compile your asset inventory for your assets in your environment. So this gives you the agent summary. This is the agent information. This is the network information as regards my client machine. These are the open ports. It provides you with the open ports that you have opened on that machine itself. So these are all the open port I have. It also provides you with details on the installed applications. These are all of the installed softwares on my client machine. And because I've run vulnerability scan, so it provides me with the vulnerabilities that I have in my environment on that client machine. So it categorizes them based on severity levels. And also you can also run a compliance. I haven't done any compliance here, so that's why it's not providing me with that visibility into if my machine is compliant with regulatories like the CIS benchmarks and each of those configurations, depending on the compliance policy I want to run in my organization. Then also we can also run alert notification, which allows you to configure real alert and accelerate incident response as regards this cloud, as regards this particular agent. And also for patch management. So I said that Qualys allows you to run patches. You can perform patching in Qualys directly. So these are all of the, based on my applications that are running and the vulnerability scan that I've run, it provides me with some of the criticals, vulnerability, or that needs to be patched, and I can actually patch them directly from here. I'm going to go into that in 1 second. So we've used the agent to achieve assets discovery. So I have one agent. So depending on the number of agents that I have, so if I have like 1,000 agents, I'll definitely view 1,000 host machines here with all of their details. And then you can download it. So you can download a CSV file. So you can actually use this itself to have a full visibility, or to use it as your assets inventory in your environment. So once you download it, I don't have CSV here. Okay, let me just download this so I can show you how it looks like. So I think I can open this with Notepad. Yes, so it's just give us. So this is the details of that client machine. So it provides us with the operating system, it provides us with the build of that operating system, and so okay, this just provides me with details as regards this, but I should be able to download all of those assets. Probably because I have just one asset, I'm gonna be able to do that, but I'll definitely see how we can get that done and have that visibility as we get that. Okay, so here is also a configuration profile. For configuration profile, you can actually create your own configuration profile, and then you can actually install that configuration profile. So for me, I have another configuration profile which I've created, and which is this VM test profile. So I can click on it and then I can edit it. So this is where I create my configuration profile. I can create blockout, so meaning that if this particular cloud agent is not active, it doesn't send periodic details to Qualys. I can also configure the performance level, which is placed to normal. I can assign this particular I can assign host to a particular tag for this profile. So any host that is running on this profile would be using this particular configuration profile. So for this agent scan merge, this allows you to scan to merge your data from on-premise and the cloud environment together. You can use that to merge your vulnerability data. Also the VM scanning interval. This is the scanning interval in which it collects data, vulnerability scanning data, and includes them into Qualys. And this is for policy compliance. It also does the same thing. This is for secure configuration assessments. This also provides the same thing. And this is also for patch management. So I've enabled patch management on this particular profile, and then I can actually implement this profile across my entire estate. Okay, 1 second. So if I go back to my agent, and I go back to agent here, so you see that it's running. I want to change this to run my new profile. Okay, so another thing I want to bring to your notice is that once you have this agent won't, you need to activate this particular agent. And to activate the agent, once you activate that agent, the agent becomes active. So I can enable each of these particular modules. So I enabled vulnerability management for this particular client, policy compliance, secure configuration assessments. Let me activate this again, and then it's activated. Then I can assign config profile. So let me assign this config profile and save. This configuration will be updated. Yes. So I've assigned that to it. So but this agent, what this agent modules does is that each of these additional licenses provide you to run these services on this particular agent. So meaning that if I don't have patch management, if I don't have vulnerability management on this particular agent, then I won't be able to run scans on this agent. I won't be able to perform patch management. I'll be able to use secure assessment, secure configuration assessment on this particular agent. So that's pretty much it on the cloud, and now you can identify assets. So next thing for us to do is how we can prioritize those assets. So once you have your asset there, the next thing you will need to do is to come to assets. On the asset tab, you have to create an asset group. So what asset group does is an asset group allows you to provide or create different groups for your asset based on its criticalities or based on its business impact on its function. So this is a asset group I created, and then I can actually edit that asset group and take you through how I created the asset group. But this is still the same process. Okay, so let me just try and create a new asset group. Create asset group. So it actually provides me with it's the same process. So you just need to provide the name and the following details. So let me just go back to this and edit it, and then we can use that for illustration. So I named it as critical assets. This is the owner, which is myself, and this is the IP address that I want to add to that. So this is the IP address of my client's machine. So this is the IP address that I want to add to this critical asset group. So depending on the number of assets you have multiple assets that you can add to specific asset groups, and then you can provide the DNS name, NetBIOS name, domain name for that particular asset group, and then you can have users assigned to this group based on the users we have that has access to this cloud platform. Then you can also use specific scanning appliances to scan this particular critical assets. So let's say we want to use my virtual scanner. I can use this virtual scanner to scan host in this critical asset. So for Qualys, when you're installing an appliance, those appliances, one of the recommendations from Qualys is that you should have your appliance closer to the subnet that you want to scan. So they encourage you to put it behind the firewall. And one of the advantages that Cloud Agent does is that no matter what those devices are, once you have your agent installed on all of those devices, then it bypasses. You don't have to worry your head about firewall rules. You don't have to worry your head about canvassing the firewall for the scan probes to reach the destination. I mean, if you're using a virtual scanner or if you're using the physical appliance in your network. So that's why I recommend going through the Cloud Agent aspect. Also, you might also need to have a physical appliance. Probably you want to use it to scan your network appliances and all that, so it might be closer to those devices you want to scan. But if you're using just for Windows, your endpoint, you want to scan your Windows, your servers and things like that, it's good to use agent based. So this impact business info, this is where you can actually determine the criticality. So you can make it critical, you can make it high, you can make it minor. So by default, Qualys assign a critical value of 2.0 to all of your assets. So if you once you can start creating asset groups, and you're putting your assets, you're assigning assets to those asset groups, then you need to define those criticalities. You can assign a score to them based on this business impact. So if the business impact is very high, then you can put that information here, and then you can assign the comments, and then you can save. Once you save, it creates this particular asset group. It creates this asset group for you. So this is what we can actually use to achieve prioritizing our assets. So you create asset groups, and then you put in your assets based on the business impact, to use that to prioritize your assets. So if you want to view the assets, the criticality score I spoke about the other time, if you come to 1 second, if we go to your cloud agents, looking for that, where's that? Yeah, cloud agent, you'll be able to see that critical score that I spoke a few minutes ago. So sorry, it's not here, it's in the global, it's actually the global cybersecurity asset management. So if we go to inventory, so you see we have a criticality score. You see that the criticality score here is showing us 4. So because of that asset group we created, critical asset that we created, we assigned it to high. So high has a value of 4. So that's where that value actually comes into play. So let me go back to, so the next thing is scanning. How do we scan those assets for vulnerabilities? So we go back to VMDR. So for VMDR, we also need to add an appliance for you to scan. So you can't scan any assets without a scanning appliance. It's because it uses scanning appliance to scan those assets for vulnerabilities. And so that's where the option where you can actually have a scanning appliance within your network if you're using it to scan local devices, or you can also use the global appliance to do that, because that will be scanning directly from the cloud. So for us to create an appliance, you click on appliance tab. Let's wait for it for a second. So this is my own virtual appliance that I actually created. It's a virtual appliance, and it's connected to this platform. So if you want to create, so let me take you through how to create a virtual appliance. So if you're creating a scanner appliance could be virtual, it could be physical. If you're doing scanner appliance, means you want to do a physical appliance. So you need to get the activation code from that physical appliance on the panel, the LCD panel of that appliance. Once it's plugged in and you input that value here, then you can activate it, then automatically it will be displayed here. But if you're using a virtual appliance, you just need to click on the virtual scanner appliance. Then you might want to download the image yourself, or then you can download the image only here, or if you have the image, you might want to configure the scanner. So if you're doing it for the first time, I would recommend you use Start Wizard. So once you click Start Wizard, it shows you can input the name, new virtual scanner, for example, new virtual scanner, and then you can choose the platform on which you want to install that scanner. So for me, I used the VMware Workstation, which is what I'm using, and then it's once you click on that, for example, and then you click next, the next thing it does is that it starts downloading that appliance, that virtual OVA file for you that you can actually use to install. So for me, I've downloaded it. So once the download is complete, this is my download. I have it downloaded here. So what I did here is to create a new virtual machine, and then I upload, or I just open it directly. I copy it on my local machine, I open it directly, and then it brings me here. So initially, the first thing it displays is how you can actually register. Okay, so let me just try and create one here so that we can see exactly what I'm actually talking about. New virtual machine. Next, let me see if I have a location here. So downloads. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't do that. What I should do is to open a new virtual machine. So it's open, and then I go to downloads. Yeah, so I click on this. This is the Qualys scanner itself. And then I click on open. So it allows me to name the virtual machine. I can call it test something, and then I import it. So once the import is done, then it's provided me with the opportunity for me to be able to synchronize that virtual scanner with the VMDR on the cloud. So for that, we're required to have a particular code. So this one second. Sorry, let me just power this on, and then I go back to my, so it provides me with, so this personalization code is what I'm going to use on my new virtual scanner. So this is my new virtual scanner here. It's still loading. I will need to impute that value, that number into that virtualized scanner, and then it will be registered with my VMDR on the cloud. So I just need to copy this and paste it, and then I can configure it based on my environment. So that IP address should be, like I said, your scanner should be closer to the subnets or to the environment where you're trying to scan. So for me, my IP address of my scanner is similar to my subnet. So this is a subnet of where I have all my network. So I just provided it with an IP address, and once that is done, it will test. It will run a ping test to ensure that it can reach the LAN gateway. Because if you can't reach the LAN gateway, then you won't be able to perform your scans appropriately. You won't be able to. This scanner won't be functional. It won't be functional. So let me go back to our test scanner and let's see. Okay, still actually loading. So pretty much that's pretty much what needs to be done on that side. We just need to run the configuration, provide the IP addresses. So if it's going to be connecting to the internet, provide it with the IP addresses for the WAN interface, and then you can configure the IP addresses. You can also configure proxy. If your environment requires a proxy, then you can also reset your network settings, and all you just need to do is just follow through on those commands, and then you would be fine as regards configuring the appliance. So once we configure the appliance, which is my appliance here, the next thing we need to do is to then schedule a scan for us to be able to gather vulnerability data. So let me just create it. This is the scan I ran on that particular agent. This is how to create a scan. So you name the title, scan test, whatever thing we want to call it. Then you need to use an option profile. So option profile is a profile that will be used to scan your environment. So we can choose multiple of those option profiles. So these are ideally it comes with 4. This is excluded because I was the one who picked it from the option profile library. So these are multiple profiles that you can actually select from. So you can select any of these. So once you select like this authentication scan v1, for example, you then import it. Once you import it, it brings that profile, it brings it to the option profile here. So that's why I have that information here. That's why I have that scanning profile here. So I can click this scanning profile, and then I can use it to run my scan. So this processing priorities means that you can place these scans on different priority levels. So you can use emergency, ultimate, depending on how critical or the urgency of that scan. So if you have multiple scans, for example, and you put it on critical, it would make this scan to prioritize this scan as compared to other scans. So for me, no priority. So I spoke about the scanning appliances. So this is where I have my scan appliance. So this is the external scan that comes with you having a scanning app. So this external is the one from Qualys. It's from the internet, so you can use that to scan all of your agents. So this applies majorly to the agents. And also for the virtual scanner, this is the virtual scanner in my environment, and I can actually use this to scan. And then you can reference your asset groups, which is what I have here. I have my critical asset group here, and then automatically it picks up the IP address. So if I click launch, it should launch. It should launch that scan. So it's actually processing at the moment. Okay, so it's actually queued. So this is the scan we are running. It's actually queued. So let me just delete this because I've actually run the scan already. So let me just delete that. I just wanted to show you how you can actually configure your scans. And on the scanning option I spoke about, you can also create your own or edit a scan profile. So if you want to create yours, you can create, depending on, you can use to create an PCI option profile. So if you click option profile, you can actually create your own profile. So I can call it test profile, for example, or you want to use a specific configuration to scan specific devices. So you can also get it as so I said maps is for asset discovery, and then you can use that. Then if you say make this a global available option, meaning that each time you log into you want to use a profile, you would have it as the top profile, global profile that you can actually itemize and you can use. So for the scan, you can say you want to scan standard ports, you can do light ports. So this is where you have to drill down depending on your environment and exactly what you want to achieve with your type of scans. I'm not going to go into that. I just want to focus on ensuring how we can use that. So this is as regards scanning. So for us to view the scanning result, you can go to dashboard, vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities will provide us with all of the vulnerabilities that was discovered on that particular asset. So, and it's going to categorize them based on severity level. So these are all the vulnerabilities, and you can see it provides you with the vulnerability. It provides you with the last detected and first detected. It provides you with the severity levels, and you can dig deeper into that vulnerability for analysis. So it shows you the vulnerability results, severity level, the IP addresses, more information as you can start. So if you click on the general information, so it also provides you with the CVSS analysis. So it provides us with database analysis in terms of the CVSS score. For CVSS version 3.1, it's saying that this vulnerability is 3.7. For temporal, it's 3.6. And then if there's an exploitable model or any form of exploitability, maybe for Metasploit or for Canvas, it provides you with that source of that exploit that can be used to exploit that particular vulnerability, and provide you with the patch if the patch is available, and if there's a malware, if the malware is actually available for that vulnerability. So, and if we go back to general, it also provides us with solution. I think go back. I didn't review that. Most of the time, it provides us with a solution of how we can actually fix that vulnerability. I don't know what that general information. Okay, so under general information, it provides you with the impact. So knowing a valid username allows for substantial easy brute forcing attack. So if a user is an attacker tries to brute force user accounts to find user accounts that are actually available on a particular target machine, it can actually start brute forcing that user account to gain access into your environment. So the solution here is to rename the guest account. So once we rename the guest account and we run the scan, then we would have we'll be able to close that particular remediation and that vulnerability. So these are all of the vulnerabilities we have here as regards that was discovered from the scan. So it's just 32 vulnerabilities, so each of them based on severity, and you can group them based on severity level. So it provides you with a grouping. So if you want to see only severity 5, you just click on this one and it shows you this severity. So this particular machine has reached end of life, and you see it shows us that this is where the directory to where that vulnerability is, and it's that that's reached end of life. So since the vendor no longer provides software updates, this device has reached end of life, and it's actually susceptible to a denial of service attack. And then the solution is to customers are advised to upgrade. So it provides you with the upgrade path or another link, where you can gather more information as to how you can upgrade to the latest version that is actually supported for you to close that, to remediate this particular vulnerability. So we've dealt with vulnerabilities, that is access. So the next thing is, let's look at reports. How can we generate reports on Qualys that we can send out to C-suite executive or to the technical team? So these are all of the reporting. So this is the report template itself. So you can select this report template to provide or send out to different audiences. So for example, if I'm using a technical report, it provides me with information about that, and then I can use that to generate a report. So if I say run, it's going to provide me with a technical report. So let me say technical reports for this particular vulnerability. So format, I can choose different format. I can choose PDF, for example, and then I'll select the asset group that it concerns. So this is the asset group, and then I can, if I want to use any of the asset tags, I can choose any asset tags I want to use, or I can just use all. And then I can also schedule the report option. I can choose a particular date and time to schedule that report, and then if I'm not scheduling, I can just run it now, and then once we have that report, we can actually send it out to the concerned audience that would need that report. So this is where you can get as many reports as possible. You can also create a scan template or even a patch template in terms of reporting. Everything has to do in this tab has to do with reporting. Also, we can also do risk analysis based on the particular QID, means Qualys identifier. So we can use a particular Qualys identifier. For example, let me copy this Qualys identifier, and so let's say, for example, we have a ransomware ravaging our environment, and you want to, and Qualys provide you with that Qualys ID. So let me use this Qualys ID, for example, 105228, and let me go back to reports, 105228, and so risk analysis. So I can confirm 105228, and then I will merge it with my asset group, and then run a risk analysis based on this QID. So it will provide me with a risk report as regards that Qualys identifier for that particular vulnerability. So while we wait for that, let's move on to other things. So we've completed our report. So let's go back to remediation or patching. So for remediation, once you can click on remediation here, and then you can actually create policies for remediation, or you can create a particular ticket for each of those vulnerabilities and determine who you assign those vulnerabilities to, and how they can actually remediate those particular vulnerabilities. So this remediation tag or this tab provides you with how you can actually manage those vulnerabilities, provide a ticket and assign it to a specific administrator, and to see how they can actually remediate them, and then they can provide you with details as to if it has been actually been completed. But another thing I also want to pay attention to is once this is done, let me see if this is any of the report. Okay, so the risk analysis report is done. So it shows us that it has no impact. So this is what we have. This is the search for that QID. This is the information that we have. Exploitability, there's no exploitability. So it provides us with the compliance that we need to ensure that this vulnerability method, renaming this guest, is actually compliant with COVID. So it provides us with a lot of information as regards analyzing the risk for that particular vulnerability. And then you can remove it. You can launch a vulnerability scan. You can purge. You can do whatever thing you actually want to do. So this is where you can actually create tickets based on policies. So you can actually create a policy, remediation policy, and you can name it whatever you want to name it, and then you can have some conditions as regards those vulnerabilities. But I wanted to show point attention to this prioritization, for example. So what prioritization helps to do is that it helps you to prioritize your vulnerabilities based on this risk, so that when you're remediating, you can actually remediate properly. Because most times, once you want a vulnerability scan, it provides you with a huge amount of data, and here comes to prioritizing those vulnerabilities to ensure that your system engineers are not factored out based on the huge amount of vulnerabilities. So on this prioritization tab, you can actually prioritize those vulnerabilities. So you prioritize based on tags. So you select an asset tag, or you select so for me, I created an asset group. So if you use an asset group, we use asset group, right? And then click on next. So it will provide us that detail as regards the vulnerabilities. So these are all of the vulnerabilities we have. You see, we have 30 vulnerabilities based on also on the CVSS rating. So you can actually prioritize. So it says these are also active threats. You can prioritize based on active threats. You can select what you want to prioritize. Is that, do they have active threats? Are they public exploit available? Is there a ransomware? Are they easy exploits? Are they predicted high risk? So these are some of the potential impacts you can actually select to check for, to use to prioritize those vulnerabilities. And then we can click prioritize now. So it will provide us with the assets and the vulnerabilities that should be prioritized. So it shows us, it's showing us we have 2 assets, which is actually 1 though. So we have 27 prioritize. It prioritized 27 vulnerabilities out of 30, 90%. Saying that 27 are actually unique, and there are actually no patches available for this prioritize. Some of them are not available. So if you look at this, for example, this has a patch, and then you can actually patch now based on the licensing that we have for that particular IP address. So it brings us back here, and then you can select this particular agent. Yeah, so this agent is going to be activated. So we can look at the activation keys. So there's patch management, attached to it, and then we can go back to so let me go back to let me just go to patch management specifically, and then I can actually see how I can patch that particular vulnerability. And the beauty of it is that with Qualys allows you to patch based on applications. So these are all the applications you have based on vendors, and then Qualys will find those missing patches and then provide it in one space for you to actually patch. So these are all of the applications. So if you see the applications you have here, these are all of the missing patches you have based on those applications. So I can click on this, for example, and then we can actually get more information about the patches, and then we can see how we can actually patch that particular vulnerability. These are the affected applications that the patch is going to help. Superseded patch, there's no superseded patch. These are the vulnerabilities that patch will actually resolve, and this is the asset itself. This is the asset that was scanned, and it has 84 missing patches, and 27 of those patches actually exist. So let me go back and see how we can actually patch that particular vulnerability. So click here, and then so for us to patch, you need to add it to a new job. So if you click on add to a new job, so it will create a patching job. So because I'm using a trial license, I'm not allowed to do that patching. But if I was using a full license, I'll be able to run the patch from here. But this just provides to you that you can actually patch vulnerabilities directly from Qualys. So that's the possibility or the advantage that it actually has. So so this is the patch. Add a new job, automate mapping. So I said with the full version of Qualys patch management. So this is the reason why I can actually patch. So we need to create a job, and that job, once that job is created, then the patching would complete. So that's pretty much all of the processes that Qualys allows us to do. And once we've gone ahead with the patch, we've completed the patch, then we can go back to our scans, and then we can actually rerun that particular scan, and then we would be good to go to validate all of these vulnerabilities. But let's go to the dashboard before I end this video. So the dashboard is going to provide us with a complete overview of all of the vulnerabilities, different widgets to provide different information. So we have 32 vulnerabilities in total on this particular asset that was scanned. So the vulnerability type says confirmed, means that those vulnerabilities have been confirmed, means that they are actually known to the vendors, and they are workarounds or solutions to resolve those vulnerabilities. For potential, means that there are no full information as regards Qualys is not 100% sure as regards those vulnerability types. So it provides those vulnerabilities according to severity levels. So this is considered severity 3, this is considered severity 4, severity 2, and severity 5. So 5 meaning that this is critical. And they provide us with the age of the vulnerability, saying that in the last 30 days it's this 32 that is still counting. And these are the top vulnerabilities from severity 3 to 5. This is the most vulnerable host, and this is the last scan that we ran. So this actually applies to all of the details as we can start. And then you can view more dashboards. You can create your own dashboard. Click on this plus sign. This allows you to add the widgets, and then you can add the widgets to the existing dashboard, or you can actually create your own dashboard from scratch. And then you can create your own dashboard from scratch, and then you can begin to add different widgets to represent different information as we get your value, as we get your scan data and all that. So this is not a full Qualys training. This is actually what I just did was I just did a touch point to identify how you can use Qualys to achieve those processes. But this requires this can actually do a full training. This requires a full training for us to go through what Qualys actually has to offer. But I just wanted to give an overview of how we can use Qualys to achieve the technology side of vulnerability management using those 6 processes that every vulnerability environment should actually go through. I know this video is very long, I hope you find it very valuable, and I'll see you in my next video.